Hello everyone, welcome to the next learning series video from Anubhav this side. In the last episode of my learning series, I have showed you how to create basic OData service in SAP Netweaver Gateway, starting from a flexible database design. Later point of time, we consumed the OData service into a Fiori application created using SAP Web IDE template. Thank you so much for all your patience listening to my last video, and I'm getting a lot of comments regarding the video, and people are asking, Anubhav, could you please post a subsequent video to this where you can discuss about $batch request in OData service, what is $batch, and what is deep insert. So can we create record using deep insert in OData service, and how can we test it right from a REST client? So in today's session, I will demonstrate you the capability, what you can do more with the OData service, and how can you create the data into your database tables using OData service calling from Fiori application. So before we get into the system, let's discuss about what is a $batch request. So in SAP OData version V1, what used to happen is every request which you used to make from the Fiori application used to go single request. Every request which used to go as a single request. Now that used to create performance issues, and hence that's why there was an introduction of $batch request starting from OData version 2. So now whatever Fiori applications you are creating starting from 1.32 as the Ui5 version, it's all using OData version V2 as the primary data model. And in that, all the requests which are going to the backend server will be $batch request. Let's try to understand what is $batch request. So as we all know that now we have our browser running the Fiori application, and then we have our application layer, which is now broken down into two pieces. One is the gateway layer and another is your core ECC layer. So this is your Fiori front-end and backend server. So now I will call this as my gateway server. I'm taking an example of central hub scenario where you have two systems completely different, and then we have the backend server. So these are all the two servers you have it in the system, and you have a browser on the top. So what will happen now is you are sending the OData request from the browser, which is running your Fiori application inside. So your Fiori application is running here. And this is sending the request to the OData service, correct? Now all the requests are going one by one to the gateway server. Now imagine if I have to create sales order and sales order item, what will I do? So I have to create sales order for my pizza delivery application. And in that pizza delivery application, I also have sales order items. Okay. Now, what is the typical flow, what you can think of as an ABAP, what you usually do in your typical ERP system when you're writing an ABAP program? So you would probably create a function module, an update function module. And then in that update function module, you will fire your insert request to all the database tables. Once the transaction is reaching to the last stage where you want to now do a final store into database, you will fire a commit work or commit work and wait statement. So when you do that statement, all the calls which are clubbed under the update work process will be flushed to the database, and everything gets persisted in finally in the database layer. Now, here it's a REST protocol. So what you would probably do is there are multiple issues with this kind of request which you will do with REST protocol. In the REST protocol, it's stateless. What is stateless? Means when you make a request from your Fiori application to the backend, it does perform all the required tasks which you have sent. For example, now you're calling an insert to database table sales order header. It inserts the record, and then the state is not persisted in the backend. You get a response and the call is gone. That's it. So by this time, first request, when you persist the sales order, it would have already created the sales order in the header table. Now, for example, there is something goes wrong between the network of browser and gateway layer. Your items could not get created because of that network issue. Hence, at the end, you will see your order header got persisted, but items is missing. That leads to inconsistencies. So this is the first problem when we work with the REST-based protocol. So the first problem is when we have to update multiple database tables and we fire multiple update calls. In case of a network failure, the call for subsequent update fails. This leads to issues in database. Basically, your data becomes inconsistent in the database. That's the first problem. Second problem is performance. Imagine if you have to do a very big operation where you have to do, let's say, multiple inserts on different database tables. What would you do? Every time you make a call from browser to the gateway, it's a cost. The cost of network, cost of using this network. So making, or in order to complete complex operations, especially the operations like post operations, we have to make multiple calls, which cost network load, right? So these are all the problems what we have with OData version 1. So those who have started using OData, you would have seen probably initial days of UI5 and Fury development. What we used to do is we used to make multiple calls like this, and then this would have created a problem. Now, to overcome this problem, what is the ideal way? The ideal way is whenever you have logically related operations together, you packet them in a single request. Okay, you packet them in a single request. Whenever you have such a multiple variety of operations to be done which are logically related, just like in above we have concept of logical unit of work. Similarly here we club them together into a single request, and in this single request you can have multiple post, update, insert, basically insert, update, delete, multiple things you can club it together, and that single packet you send it to the backend. In the backend it goes, either the transaction is fully successful or it is fully incomplete. Okay, so that's the best way to follow also the ACID properties: atomicity, isolation, consistency, and durability. So these are all the 4 properties we typically see at the database level. Now we are achieving the same by making a batch request. Batch means it's a request of collection of requests which you're sending to backend, and that's why this has become the default model now for all the Fury applications. So any call which you see, whether it's a get call, read call, update call going from Fury application, these all calls have been made as a $batch call. That's the main reason of introducing $batch call with OData version v2. So if you are using already OData version v2, you would see all the calls going from Fury application will be in form of $batch. Just to show you an example, I will go back to our Fury application which we had created in the last session, my last learning series. Those who are not aware of where exactly my last video is, please go to YouTube. So just go to YouTube, and on the YouTube you will find here Anubhav learning series. Search for Anubhav learning series on YouTube. You will find my learning series over here, and in this learning series you can go ahead and look at my last video, video number 3 over here, simplified DB design for S4HANA. This is the first video which you should ideally start with in order to get the whole picture, get the complete picture. So in this video I have explained about what is the right DB design you should follow, and how can we create a basic OData service and a Fury application on top of it. So please have a look at this video, will be very helpful for you. Okay, so that's the first thing which you can have a look at. And now you can come to this particular video, and there you will now find the related information. So it's actually continuation of this particular video. Now what I'll do is I will just quickly go back to our Fury application which we created. So here it is, and this is the application we created in the last session. I run this, and you would see Best in Pizza application is launching. I just copy this and maybe launch it in another URL. So let me just do that over here. And I will also press F12 to look at all the network calls which are going from my Fury application to the backend. So watch carefully here. I just refresh, and okay, let me just disable that part. Yes, now you can see all the requests, and you see dollar batch, all the dollar batch. You can also filter them. So dollar batch, all these requests which are going from your Fiori app are OData requests to the backend. Now let's have a look at this request. You can see here our OData service which we are using. If you scroll down, you'll see all the operations which are required to read the product data or order data are clubbed together in a batch request. You see get order set. It's first getting how many orders are available in the system using dollar count. You can see the count here. If you want to test it now, you can easily test it. What you can do is you just take the first part of your OData request, open another session, put that OData service name over here, press enter. You can see this is my OData service. Now you just scroll down, go to your dollar batch request payload here in the headers section, and you see it's a get request. So you can test the get request directly from browser. If it is a put, post, or delete request, you can't test it from browser. So for that, I have a solution for you. We will discuss that in today's class. And then I'll just copy this part of payload, what exactly I want to read, and come back here and put the entity set name and dollar count. Press enter. You would get number of sales orders available in my system. You can see 6. It's returning 6, which means it's working exactly what we need. Now you can come down, you can see another request clubbed together. Again, you see this is another get request. It is also clubbed together in a single request so that we can avoid multiple network calls. Then I will take this up, this whole request, copy this, and just come here and just paste it over here after the service name, press enter. And now you can see all the data. Let me just show you the output in JSON format. So question mark dollar format equals to JSON. I should use %, because this is not the first parameter. Now, if you want to understand basics of OData, what is an OData service, how do we work with OData service, what is $top, $skip, all that stuff is completely covered in my basic training of OData and UI5 and Fiori technology. So please subscribe to my UI5 and Fiori course if you want to know, starting from very basic, what exactly an OData service, what is UI5 framework, what is HTML5. So the main thing, today you have all the resources available on internet, but they are not organized well. So my training in those 40 hours of training, I will ramp you up like a fresher, and I will make you an expert in UI5 and Fiori along with OData services. And then you can come back to these free learning series videos, and you will be able to understand all of these things quite nicely and easily. This is something little advanced level which I'm demonstrating here, because a lot of my students are asking me for a lot of advanced topics, and since I cannot cover these topics probably in my training, and then I would cover these advanced things in my learning series videos. So if you want to subscribe to my training, please check on onlinefiorytrainings.com, and here you will find all the available courses which I'm offering right from the very scratch, right from the very beginning. If you're just a college pass out, you can learn this. There's no doubt about it. You don't need to worry about system access. You don't need to worry about whether you know JavaScript or not. All that is covered in my course. So you can see this is the module you would like to get started with to get as a first step towards SAP Ui5 and Fiori with OData service. And then next level of that will be Fiori enhancements and Launchpad integration. And then probably you would also like to go with S4 HANA technical training, including ABAP on HANA. So these are all, the most famous module. Soon I'm also coming up with HANA Access training, native HANA application development training. You can subscribe for that based on your needs. So please do write me your comments here in the chat, in the comment box on this YouTube channel. Please let me know your thoughts. You can also drop me an email on my email ID. You can contact me from here on the website. So please fill in this form and send me your comments, send me your feedback, complaints, whatever you have in your mind. Feel free to get in touch with me. And of course, all the source code, whatever I'm developing here, I'm also uploading here on the website. You can go to Anubhav's learning series here. You can download the complete source code and the presentation, what I'm preparing here, directly from the website for your reference. Okay, so let's come back. So now what I'll do is you can see here the request. It has read the data from the OData service for all the orders available in the system. Now, next, so you can see similar to this, we have multiple batch requests available over here, correct? So likewise, you can read all these batch requests here, which are being made from Fiori application. You can see it's making a call to our OData service, which we had created in the last session. Yeah, you can see it's also reading the order information. So every time I choose a record now on the master list, it would make an OData call. Let me just choose it. So I make a selection and you see it's again making a call. So it's always a request and response, request and response. So you made a request, it gives you a response. So this is a request. Again, it is made on OData service. If you scroll down in the payload, you'll find what it is requesting. It's requesting the information about order items. So if you want to know that, you can also copy this part, come here on the top and just replace your call slash your entity set name, press enter, and you would see all the items for that particular order. So right now in this order, there is no item, hence it's showing a blank records. So that is how you can trace all your calls which are going from Fiori application to the backend. Remember, they all are $batch requests because we are using OData version 2 model. And with all the requests going from V2 model are by default sent as a batch call. So you can also come here and check the OData version. It's 2.0, which means all the calls which will go from the Fiori application to the backend will be $batch call. Okay, so that's about $batch call. This is what was requested with one of my student. Hope this is clear of what is $batch call, why we need $batch call, because we can combine multiple requests together to reduce the network load, and also we can combine the logically related tasks like creating order items and all these requests together in a single call to the backend. So in the backend, if there is any error, we can respond back directly to the whole request rather than persisting first the half of the data and then in next half, let's say if something goes wrong or an exception for that matter in the backend would decrease the data, would hamper your data consistency in the database system. Okay, so that's why we use $batch calls in SAP Ui5 along with the OData service. Now let's go ahead and try to talk about the deep insert. What is deep insert? So when in this example, if you see, we have actually an order and order items. So whenever you're ordering a pizza, you cannot, of course, order a pizza without having an order including at least one line item, correct? So whenever you pick up your phone and try to order a pizza, at least one item has to be there in your order. Then only you can create an order, correct? So that is what is also happening here. You cannot create a pizza order without at least having one item inside, which means whenever I'm trying to create a new order from a Fiori application, I should always and always have order data, header data of the order, which means the customer information, the total order amount, what is the delivery date or the order date and order time, and then finally the line item information. The line item information must include at least one order item, which could be, let's say, one pizza or one garlic bread or probably a cold drink, correct? So now to achieve these kind of scenarios where you want to have you want to post the data to the backend system, considering that order and order item has to go hand in hand together in a single request, we make use of something called deep insert deep insert entity. So deep insert entity is used where you have logically related data of two different entities together and you want to fire an insert, and in one shot it has to persist all the data together in the database. So that's what exactly deep insert is. So for that we have to go to our gateway and do a special development for achieving the deep insert in the system. So now in this case of OData service, let me just quickly show you. Here we have our order table. You can see we have products, we have orders, and we have order items. So in this you have an order items and you have order main entity. So this is header, order header, and this is order item. So if I want to now create my order along with minimum one item, I have to make use of association of these two entities and make a deep insert call. So let's go ahead to our backend system and try to enhance our OData service. And then in that OData service, I will try to include a deep insert method, which would then sense a post request. And as a final result, you would see the data will be created in the database. And to test, as I mentioned earlier, you cannot test the post, delete, and update request from your normal browser. So we need a special plugin, and that plugin is called Postman plugin in this case. So what is Postman? Let me just give you a very brief introduction. What is Postman? So Postman is a plugin available with major browsers. Okay. With the help of that, we can go ahead and test OData calls. Okay, so not just the get call, it also allows you to construct a nice payload, and you can also test multiple variety of OData calls like create request, update request, or delete request. So the beauty of Postman plugin is it's free. You can use this and you can make use of this to make a call to any OData service, especially also the gateway's OData service, and then it will then persist all the data. It will update all the data based on your needs. So wherever you have a Fiori application, even without having a Fiori application, you can test your OData service, all the create, update, and delete operations using the Postman plugin. So let's go ahead and install Postman plugin in the browser and see how can we make a call to our gateway OData service using Postman plugin. So I will go to the browser now and show you how to create our Postman plugin into the system. So I'll just go here and search for Postman for Chrome. It's absolutely free, guys. So you can register, quickly get it from Postman Google Chrome store. You can see here, I just say add to Chrome browser, add this application, which is absolutely free. And you can see soon it will get added to my Chrome browser. And then I would be able to make a call to our OData service from here itself. So whenever you want to test, you have an OData service, you want to test now the OData service with create request, you can't do it with browser. You have to use some REST client, and the REST client here is the Postman plugin. Okay. So let's launch the Postman plugin from here. And now you can see it's launching the Postman plugin for us. It's absolutely free. You just have to register on the Postman website. They're also offering a lot of features, which we will look into it once we connect. So I've already registered on the Postman plugin. So it's free. You can see you can sign up here by providing your email ID and details. Let me just sign in, and I would provide my email ID and my password. Let me sign in. So it's a very fresh installation of Postman, and now we will make a call to our OData service deployed in the gateway system from the Postman plugin. Now remember, guys, you need to also authenticate to your gateway server. So now you can see some features which are available here. You can create a collection, you can create a basic request, a lot of features which they offer. So I don't want to get into it. Now the beauty of the Postman plugin is also that you can see all the calls which I made with my email ID last time with another laptop are also visible here. You can see I made multiple calls. They are all visible. So I can clear the history. And now you can see it's like a fresh installation for me. So the first thing what I want to test is a GET request. Let me put here the URL of my OData service. So we just test a very basic GET request to get the metadata of my OData service. So I put this URL over here, and now I just go to authorization, and I choose basic authentication and provide my username and password for my OData server. Yeah, and then I can say update request, and that's it. You can make a call, send, and you can see there's an error. I think the login is failing. Let me check the correct password. Let me check. Make a call again. And yes, you can see it's working fine. It's sending me the response back with all my entity sets are coming out. Perfect. Let's make a call now to read all the products available in the system. So I come here and say products and question mark dollar format equals to JSON is what I want to read. Send the request, and you can see it's giving me error. There is some problem because I think our entity set name is not correct. It's products set. And yes, you can see all the products, margarita, spicy delight, double cheese pizza, all the information from our pizza store are being read out here in the request. The beauty of Postman plugin, see, you can see here all the requests which you made to the OData server are also available here. You can switch back to any one of it, just have a look at it. You can also open multiple tabs here and work with multiple OData calls together. Now I want to create my sales order and items information together. So for that, I need to do special development in our OData service to support deep insert, where I can send the order header and the item information together to the backend system so that it can create me the order along with the items. And then finally, we will test the post request from the Postman plugin. You can see it gives me an option to test the post request. Okay, so let's go ahead and first enable our gateway system, enable our OData service in the gateway to be able to invoke the post request with a deep insert. So what is deep insert? Again, I'm reiterating, it's nothing but when you have multiple entities in OData service and you want to fire a single request which then creates or persists data of multiple entities together, it's called deep insert. So now what I'll do is I just go back to my gateway system. So I connect using my SAP GUI to my S4 HANA system. And there you go. Let me just connect in to the system. Okay, just provide my user. And then I'll just get inside and I'll just quickly open our SE24, my MPC class for the OData service. So let me just check that up. What's my OData service name? I can come here. That's my OData service name. I think it's, yeah, it's not one, guys. I don't have it one inside. I just have Z BIP OData. And I just go to quickly to this class, MPC class. So I will go to MPC extension class and first define a type for my deep insert. So let's go to the change and I'll go to types and maybe I just define here a type for deep entity. Okay, this is very important because the OData service class must know what is the structure of the data which is coming from the front-end system, which is coming from the Fiori application. So that's why you have to define this. And I can click on this button to define it using types statement inside my MPC extension class. So you can see types and I can just say begin of my type. And then I'm going to get all the properties from the structure. So maybe I'll quickly go to my database table for orders, BIP underscore. So let's, and I just display the table. You can see these are all the fields I have. Maybe I just quickly copy my fields from here and put it inside my type. So you can see I'm putting all the fields from my header to the type. And then let's also provide the data types mentioned here and just quickly put them here. And then let's quickly pick them up and put it over here. So you can see it may take a little bit of time, but I'm showing everything end to end. Then your dates data type. And then we have our character 255 for customer name. Then we have currency field. Then we have currency key. Okay, so that's my data type declaration for deep entity. Now remember guys, since it's a deep entity, you have to have also deep nested internal table which includes the line item information, because what I'm going to do is from Fiori application or from my Postman plugin, I'm going to send information about order header and order items together. So let's create here an order item table. Now typically here the name of order item table is kept same as your association navigation property name, guys. Okay, so whatever is your navigation property name, that should be the name of your table. We should put it here. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go and check it out. What's the navigation property name in our OData service? So I go to SEGW and check out our OData service here. You can see this is our OData service, and I will just come to my orders, navigation property, and see nav order items. This is the name. I take that, put here for my internal table name, type standard, and then I should say, okay, sorry. Yeah, so this is the one, type standard table of my database table for items. So my database table for items is ZBIP, best in pizza, orders, item. Hopefully this is the structure name. I can just do control space and verify. Yes, it is. And now I can close my type. So that's my with key. Okay, so we want to also define this with the standard key actually. So it should be with default key. Yeah. So that's it. End of my entity type ts underscore deep entity. Remember guys, this activity has to be done before you start implementing your deep insert method in DPC extension class, because this will be the format of the data coming from the front end server. And remember, never ever do a mistake, always define in your MPC extension class, because this is a class for all the model and the metadata information. Just do a pretty printer. So maybe I just maintain pretty printer settings and everything gets converted to lowercase. Save this, activate my MPC extension class. There's an error. Let's check it out. So there is a problem with the currency field. So maybe I just define it with the help of my orders table directly. So I use type hyphen my currency field, total amount field. So it's total amount here. And then currency key hyphen my currency field. Save this, do a check. We are good. Let's activate it. Wow. Now let's switch to the MPC extension class. So I just go back to my DPC extension class, sorry. And here I'm going to implement a special method which supports the deep insert, guys. So what I'll do is I just expand it and search for a method called create deep insert. So let's search for the method which allows me to insert, do a deep insert. So let's come down. You can see create deep entity. This is the method we have to implement whenever you have two multiple entities being posted using association. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I will just redefine this method. And now what is that first thing which we will do? We will just check the incoming payload here. So whenever user will fire a request, the data will be coming using this request context object. And we just call, sorry, not this one, data provider object. And I say read entity data. And now remember, this is your deep insert method, your deep create deep entity method. So always the data will come for nested entities, which means there is an order and then there is an item. So together for both of them, the data will come. And then you can easily put this data, which is coming to your structure, which is of type your structure, which you just defined in MPC extension class. So I say ls deep entity, and I can declare my ls deep entity according to the structure which I have it in my MPC extension class. So CL ZBIP OData MPC extension class, and then of course my type I have to put it here, and this should be my TS deep entity. Where it is, it's not visible here. I think I have didn't refresh my screen, so maybe I just put TS deep entity, and let's hope it will take it up. Let's do a syntax check. You can see TS deep entity is unknown. Let me go to my MPC extension class and check it out if it has been activated or not activated. So sometimes it may happen that your class is not active. Because of that, this structure is no more available for you to consume. Okay, so let's go ahead and check it out. So I go to types, and you can see TS deep entity, it's available, and by mistake I made it private, guys. That's the problem. So let me make it public so that it is available for consumption. So that's something which you will also do the mistake, so be very careful. So I can come back and just do a syntax check, and looks like my syntax is okay. Okay, so now I just make a breakpoint here. to just debug if my data comes up or not for order and order item together. Once my data is available in the breakpoint, I will then be able to simply insert the data to my database table together for both items and order in one single shot. Okay, so for that, let's go ahead now. I will set up an external breakpoint so that when I call a post request for my Postman plugin, I should be able to get this breakpoint hit here. So I go back to now my Postman plugin. Now remember guys, whenever you want to do a post request to the OData service of Gateway, you have to first fetch the token. What is a token? It's a security authentication mechanism for Gateway. So whenever you want to create a post request, you have to always first do a GET request by fetching a CSRF token information, and then you add on this CSRF token information on top of your post request, and then make a post request. Your post request will be successful. So remember, this is a common practice which whenever you want to do a post request, whether it is batch or not batch, or a deep insert or not deep insert, always first fetch the token in the Postman plugin using fetch, and then append that token information, and then finally make a post request to the OData service. It will work fine. Now, what I'll also do is before that, I need to first prepare the payload for my deep insert, where I have to add both order as well as my order item information. So how can we prepare the payload? So first of all, let's call order set. Okay, I just make a call to get for order set, and you can see it's giving me all the orders. Let me just make it little smaller so I can come down, and you can see there are order information. So I will copy this, and in order to prepare my payload, I will go to jsonlint.com. So let me go to jsonlint.com to prepare my JSON payload, which I have to send back to the OData service. So that's my order ID. So this order ID, guys, I don't want to send it because this will be generated automatically internally. So I will make it blank, and I want to pass my order number as order number 6, let's say. And this is now interesting, date. So guys, you whenever you're posting, many times it may happen that you're confused what to pass in the date. So here you see the date is passed in this format. This will never be accepted by Gateway. The date format for Gateway which will be accepted is JSON format date. So how can you obtain the date? So let's suppose I want to obtain current date. So press F12, and you can just get the current date information in JSON format here in your console. So what you need to do is, first of all, just create a new date object. So say new date, press enter. You can see it's giving me the date in a long format. Now I want this date to be parsed in JSON format. So I say JSON dot parse, and I say new date. Oops, I am doing a mistake, I guess. Let me just check. What is that I'm doing wrong? I think I have to just first take the date into an object. So I say var ODate equals to new date, and then I say JSON dot stringify, guys, and pass the ODate here. Yes, so this is the date format what Gateway will expect. Now remember, currently my date format which is set for my OData service, let me also show you in the Gateway over here for orders. If I double click on properties, you can see the date here. It's 7 precision. I don't want it to be 7 precision. I just want to make it 0. So whatever is the maximum size, it will take it. I will just regenerate my OData service just to be sure. You need to make this change in your Gateway, guys, in order to make it work with post. So I have just removed the number of precision scales over here from the date and time field, and then I have reactivated or regenerated my runtime artifacts for the order entity. Okay, and then you can take this date, and this date can be supplied to the OData service. So what I'll do is I'll come back, and I just want to pass order date and time. So maybe till here I want to take it, and this is what I will pump in into my date variable. Okay, so I insert it here. Now that's my date value which I will be passing to my Gateway, and then maybe I want to give my customer name as Anubhav test. and then maybe you want to give order amount as, let's say, 600 INR for this order. And now watch carefully, guys. First of all, let's validate this part of JSON. And just to validate JSON, you can see that it's a valid JSON. The next level to that, I want to also insert or update the order items data. So for that, you have to now put your array of all the items. So for example, a customer is ordering a new pizza or probably a new order, and that order includes multiple pizzas and multiple toppings and stuff like that. So all that goes under this array. So now let's come here, and what we'll do is I will read the information from Postman again about the navigation property name. You can see nav order items. That's what I'll use. I put it here, and inside this we will put multiple order items. So one by one, let's say I want to order 2 pizzas and 1 cold drink. So I will put all of them inside this parenthesis one by one, all the items which I want to order along with this sales order. Okay, so let's come here, and I just want to read now maybe a sample items information using this association. So I'll just copy this path and put this in my request, and I just want to get this information in dollar format JSON so that I can prepare my payload. And you can see this is how the item data will look like. So just copy one of the item data and just bring it over here inside here. Yeah, and now what you can do is this item ID you don't have to pass. You have to also don't have to pass the order ID. And you have to just pass the product ID. So product ID is what is the order you want to place, what are the products you want, and what is the quantity. So I want to make an order for, let's say, margarita pizza. So maybe I'll just switch to my product set, and there you go, get, and margarita, this is the product ID for margarita pizza. I want to make 1 pizza of margarita type, and maybe I just create similar records over here in JSON lint for testing my data. And then next order I want to have is a double cheese pizza. So I take the product ID, put here, and I want to order 2 double cheese pizzas, item number 2, and I want item number 3 as, let's say, 1 Pepsi. So just come down and search for soft drinks available. Thunderbird I want to order. So let's copy the Thunderbird's ID. That's my 3rd product, and I want to order 3 Thunderbird pieces. Okay, so that's my complete order, guys. We are ready. Let's validate the JSON. It's valid. Now I can just copy this payload. That's my payload to post the data. So when I make an order, I would add all the orders on the Fury application, all the items which customer ordered, and I click on save. In one single request, your order header along with your order item will be posted to the backend. Okay, so that's how you handle request which is going to backend together. So now I come back, and I already have a breakpoint set, guys. Now I can come back to Postman, and what I'll do is I'll just change it to a post request. Now before that, maybe I want to show you first making a post request, and you will see that an error will occur when I try to make such a post request. So I go to a post, and then I can just go to header and say what type of post request I want to make. So I will just say the content type, it should be JSON. So application JSON, here it is. You see the data which we are sending to backend is a JSON format. And then I can come here to body of what I want to post, and I can go to raw body and paste my whole payload for the order. Now remember, it's of type JSON again, and the raw body, whatever I want to post it. So it's a post request on my OData service. Okay. It's a post request on my OData service, and here now I have to enter my entity name. So it's orders set. Okay, that's what you have to enter, on which entity you're posting. Remember, though you are posting on order set, but system will analyze that it is also having the nav order items, which means you're trying to insert data with a nested internal table. So system will always hit your method, which is deep insert method. So now let's see if the breakpoint hits in above or not. So I'm making a call now. I make a send request, and you can see CSR of token validation field. That's the error you will get when you're trying to make a post request from the front end to the back end. Remember, post request, I told you some time back, whenever you want to test a post request or an update request from the front end, from the gateway client, or from the Postman client, or from the Fury app will handle this automatically because you have OData model handling all the authentication. But here with the Postman plugin, you definitely need to manage the security aspect of it, and that you can do it by first making a GET request. Now remember, you cannot simply make a GET request. It won't produce you the CSR of token. What you need to do is just make a GET request first, just to show you. I make a GET request on any entity set. Doesn't matter that you have to make a GET on order set. You can do it on any entity set. Remember, your OData service name should be same. So I made it, and now if I go to headers, you can see I don't have any information about security. So in the headers, you see I don't have any information about security. No token is available. But now in order to obtain the security token, I have to make a special request in the GET call with the headers called X CSR of token. Okay, we have to make X CSR of token equal to fetch. So let's do that. So X hyphen CSRF hyphen token equals to fetch. Okay, just make this GET call once again and watch carefully these headers. I make a send, and now you can see it is giving me a CSR of token which is valid for some period. I'm not sure what is the time frame it is valid for, but now you can use this CSR of token to make a post request and it will be successful. So let's come back to our post request, which is stored already in the JSON format over here. You can see my previous call. You can see also the body is same. So that's the beauty of your Postman plugin. It stores all the requests. And go to headers and now add this XCSR of token. And I will just paste it here, the token information. Make a post call now and watch carefully what will happen. Okay, so let's make a send, and it should hit my breakpoint now in ABAP. There is an error. Let's explore what is this error. So let's go to the gateway client and check out the issue. What is it throwing? I'll just quickly take the transaction from here and go to our gateway system and just check. You can always make out what error gateway is throwing, and with that you can also find out what could be the root cause of the issue. However, you can also check here what is it saying. You can see service provider did not return any business data, which means I suspect that our breakpoint did not hit because breakpoint was not properly set, but hopefully we should be able to work with it. And I think I need to again set up the breakpoint and let's see if it hits the breakpoint or not. So maybe I just go back and re-log in after disconnecting from system. So I'm just again into the system. Let me go to change mode, get in inside my create deep insert method and set up a breakpoint one more time just to see what happens. So I will just come back to Postman and fire the post request one more time. Same request guys with the CSR of token. And let's see what happens. Voila, you can see it's hitting my breakpoint, which means earlier I think the breakpoint was having some issue. I can press F6 and let's look at our deep insert table. And you can see all the data which I've sent from the front end is now available for me to insert in my database table. So I can quite easily now use this data and create records in my database table. So let's do that. So I press F8 and just you can see still it's throwing an error because there is no return out of it. Since we are not returning the data back, this is the error which it is throwing, that there is no data return from the deep insert. So let's go ahead and implement the code now. So first of all, I will be creating the order. So I will use this and just do a move corresponding this to my ls order entity. And let me declare the order according to my database table. ZBIP orders table. And then I'm just going to also assign the order ID because that's something which I have to generate it at runtime. Remember the last discussion when I showed you how to create a post request. So CLUUID, there is a ready to use class in ABAP. And let me just call this up. And then finally, we just going to insert the record in the database table. So insert Z BIP orders value, insert into this table values ls order. Perfect. And now we have an internal table which is having the items information. So you can just loop over this internal table. It has deep table for nav order items into inline data declaration of items. And now we can loop over these items table and insert each item, or we can also insert all the items together. So let's prepare an internal table for items. So LT items, and this should be of type items table. Let's also declare a work area for the same, like line of LT items. And now I'm just going to prepare my work area data. So ls, I just say item here and just move all the corresponding data from ls item to ls items. And then this ls items order number should be updated, guys, according to the order number what we have it over there. So this should be type table of, and then I just get the order number. So maybe we can switch off the signature so that you can look at the whole code. And I say my order ID for which these all item belongs to is the order ID which I just recently generated. For every line item, the item ID should also be created at runtime. Yeah, so this I can use it here, item ID. And then the item number is what I can assign directly. Also, by any chance, if user is not passing the item number, I can just assign it to psi-tabix, the loop counter of my internal table loop. So that's it. And then finally append ls items to LT items. And finally, just do an insert. So insert into my Z BIP orders item table from tables. I guess insert into this from table and my internal table. So that's a better way of inserting data into database table in one single shot. For the items table, you can again manage the logical unit of work together, guys, by creating different update modules and fire all the statements into that. That also you can do it, but this is also okay for testing purpose. And once this is done, I want to move the data back in the output. So me copy data to ref, and then I'm just going to send the data back to the output. So whatever data we have got it in ls deep entity, I will just update the order ID in this with the order ID which we had generated, and that's the data I'm sending back to the output. So let's see the output signature. It's ER deep entity. Save this, your natural post, and that's it. Check it. Everything looks okay. Just some exception handling is missing, which is fine. And I can just go ahead and start debugging the post request one more time. So watch carefully, guys. I'll just quickly open my orders table and show you there is no order from customer Anubhav. So ZBIP orders table, display the data and show me all the orders. You can see there is no record from customer Anubhav. Okay, so now let's ready to shoot. I say send once again and let's see what happens finally. So it comes here, it reads all the data, it moves in, it creates an order ID. It now inserts this order into the order header table. It loops over all the items and prepare the items internal table. You have 3 items, send 3 different items in this particular order, 2 pizzas and 1 cold drink. So you will see all the items are prepared here with new item GUIDs and the order ID same for all the items as per our DB design discussed in the last class. And then you can also see the quantity which we had passed from the UI from our Postman. It inserts it and finally it maps the data back to the output table. Let's execute and voila, you get a response here. Once again, the error is gone because now you're sending back the data, updated data to the front end, which means ideally your order would have been created. Let's go back to database table and just do a quick refresh over here and you can see, guys, my order number 6 has been created with Anubhav test. Let's look at the items of this order, copy the order ID, go back to our items table and just search for the items. And I just push in the order ID here, and voila, you see all the 3 products which you have it in your order are inserted. Now, this is my level number 1. In the next session, I will explain you guys calling the same request using the same payload on the Fury application. So we will build a Fury application. We will extend indeed our current Fury application, which we have it here, the best in pizza application. And in this application, I will be creating a post screen with a new order creation with the customer details, product details, and stuff like that, with a line item table where you will enter a complete pizza order, and then when you click on save button, it will make a batch request, and you would be able to see immediately it is getting created from the Fury application. So stay tuned on my YouTube channel. If you like this video, don't hesitate to comment on my YouTube channel. Don't hesitate to post comments here. Please stay in touch. I would love to hear comments from you. Please post comments. Please like, share this video with everyone. If you feel it's helpful for your colleagues, please do share it with me. And your thoughts, and if there is something which is creating problem for you, just send an email to my email ID. Definitely your comments, your complaints, your questions are listened from my side, and I always try to create more videos for you which will be helping you to create more content in the system. Thank you so much. You can reach me on my email ID anubhav.abap@googlemail.com, and stay in touch. See you with the next video. Have a nice day and goodbye.
Hello everyone, welcome to the third video of the series of creating end-to-end Fury application on top of SAP S4HANA with a flexible DB design. In my last video, I have explained about how to create a backend OData code for inserting deep insert into the database table by whenever you have multiple entities together. If you want to create a data record of multiple entities like order and order items, we can use the a deep insert technique of OData Service in Gateway. We also saw creating a sample payload in our Postman plugin and created a data record in our database table in the orders as well as order item table for pizza delivery. In today's session, I would like to discuss a very nice, interesting topic which many of my students have requested. So many of them have requested me that Anubhav, in our company, we are not using SAP Web IDE. So can you guide us what should be the right way of developing applications based on Eclipse? Because Eclipse doesn't give me a possibility to make use of SAP Web IDE templates. So in SAP Web IDE Personal Edition or Edition in the cloud, we have feature of creating app using template, but in Eclipse we don't have it. So what should we do? Our company is using Eclipse. How do we get started with Eclipse, and how do we create our Fury application on Eclipse, though we don't have a template available as in Web IDE? So first of all, I would like to emphasize on the fact that you should always start creating your first project with SAP Web IDE, because SAP Web IDE, when you create your project, it creates also the all necessary artifacts which are part of a standard Fury application, which includes component.js, router, route match handler, manifest.json, fragments, formatters, view folder, controller folder, separate folder for utils, I18N for internationalization, and all these concepts are anyways covered in my SAP Ui5 Fury training in detail. So if you don't know about any of these concepts, please subscribe to my Ui5 and Fury training using onlinefurytrainings.com. So just go to www.onlinefurytrainings.com and you'll find the necessary information to learn all these things in my onlinefurytrainings.com tutorials. So please subscribe to my training in case you want to know more about Ui5 and Fury basics along with OData. So just a disclaimer here, this session is for the people who already know Ui5 and Fury with OData. You want to understand more detailed real-time stuff, end-to-end practices. That's the reason I am recording this video, especially for my students who are already taken course from me and they want to learn advanced things. That's the reason I have recorded this video for them. Please do like, share and comment on this video if you are if you think that it is interesting, it is helpful for you, don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. So let's get started now and see how can we now create first of all our first web id project, or the one which we created in my previous video. I will now export it from web id and put it in Eclipse and run it completely end to end from Eclipse. So let's get started. So those who don't know the previous videos, let me just quickly show you. Just go to my YouTube channel. So you can go to my YouTube channel, search Anubhav's Learning Series on YouTube. You will find my YouTube channel Learning Series for Anubhav's Learning Series. In this, you will find video number 3 and 4. These are all the two videos which are prerequisite before you watch this particular video which I'm recording currently. So remember, you have to watch video number 3 and 4, where you will understand from very basic what is the right DB design, how the OData service is created, what is $batch request, and how the deep insert is created in our previous session. So this is in continuation of this learning series video, where I will now show you creating a Fiori application in a web IDE, extending it using Eclipse. So let's go back. So in previous video I have already showed you how to create basic Fiori application. Now I'm going to port this application to Eclipse and going to run this application right from scratch from Eclipse. So what I've done by far, I have already installed Eclipse Oxygen in my computer, and I have also have my web id personal edition where I'm creating. Now suppose your company don't want to use SAP web IDE, then you should always get start first with web IDE personal edition. Create your basic Fiori application using template, export this application and import in Eclipse. Let me show you how you can achieve that. So first of all, you can see this application over here. I'm going to export this application. So just right click, choose export. So my current application will be exported in my local computer. You can see it's getting downloaded. And now before we continue, let me launch my Eclipse Oxygen, which has SAP Ui5 SDK already installed. So those who don't know how to set up Eclipse, what is the prerequisite to set up Eclipse, and how can we make Eclipse ready for developing Ui5 and Fiori application, please watch my YouTube video on getting started with SAP Ui5 development on Eclipse. You can come to my YouTube channel, search for my YouTube channel, click on my name. You will be taken to my YouTube channel. Go to playlist in this YouTube channel, and you will find here SAP Ui5 and Fiori training on web IDE. In this, I have already posted one of the free video for you to get started with Eclipse based development. So let me just come down and show you the one which you can use to get started from scratch with very basics of Eclipse based Ui5 development. So just come down, search for the video. You can see setup to create your Fiori app. Here it is. So this is the video you have to watch, video number 10 in the learning series of Ui5 and Fiori training. So here you will understand how to get started with Eclipse environment, how to set up this up. Okay, so please watch this video, and then connecting to that, I come here to my Eclipse. And now what I'll do is, in this Eclipse folder, I am going to create my Fiori project. So then later point of time, the Fiori project which I exported from SAP Web IDE will be imported into this. So let me do that. Okay, so in the meantime, I'll quickly go to my downloads folder where it got downloaded. You can see this is the application from Web IDE. I just right click and extract this to a folder in my computer. So I just extract it, the one which I downloaded from Web IDE, and you see the extraction is done. And now a folder got created in my computer. I just go inside the folder, and I can go inside the web app directory, and you'll see all the artifacts over here which you need to port it in Eclipse. Now let's go back to Eclipse. I just close all this stuff, and now I'll create a new Ui5 application. So just come to the Eclipse Project Explorer, choose new project, choose application Ui5 application development application project, and now just provide a name over here as a my pizza app, and I would just skip creating any initial view. I choose the library as sap.m and say finish. So this would create me a very fresh Ui5 application in Eclipse. And then what I'll do is I will just go back to my folder, web app folder of what I've downloaded from SAP Web IDE. Control A, select all the files. Control C, make a copy of all these files. Come to Eclipse and just go to web content folder, select the web content folder in Eclipse and just do a Control V. Paste all the folders and files in this folder. Done. Congratulations, you have successfully converted your Web IDE project to an Eclipse project. How do you test it now? Now, in order to test, what SAP UI5 also offers is a local file to test it. You can go to your test folder and you can see here FLP Sandbox mock server and FLP Sandbox. Now, what is FLP Sandbox and FLP Sandbox mock server? When you create a project from SAP Web IDE, SAP will automatically create this project from template and it will also create a mock server for you. You can find the mock server into the local service folder here, mockserver.js. If you want to understand in detail about what is mock server and how does it work, please subscribe to my SAP advanced training, SAP Ui5 advanced training. So let me show you how can you find that information. So just go to again on my website, onlinefurytrainings.com, and you will find the detail of my advanced training where I've already explained about features of mock server in SAP UI5. How does it work? How can you integrate your UI5 application with Fiori Launchpad by creating groups, catalog, Fiori securities using PFCG roles and all the authentication options. So you can just come down, and this is the course you need to subscribe to if you want to understand end-to-end development of Fiori application, extending standard SAP Fiori applications using Web IDE, integrating with Fiori Launchpad, Theme Designer, Launchpad Designer, Fiori securities, roles, enhancements, as well as if you want to also understand how to create KPI applications on top of CDS views. This is a nice course which you can subscribe to for the advanced details. Now coming back, I will come back here. So I will just run this application with Sandbox. Sandbox means run it with real OData server. Now, before we run it with real OData server, we need to also maintain the information about server. So what you need to do is just go to your manifest.json file and you will see here your service URL. Now it is understood that this is pointing to a local path, but our gateway server is not running here locally. So it is placed at some address using host and port name. So we have to add on the host and port information here. So let me just do that. This is our OData service. This is our host and port name. I copy this and I paste it here. Now, one interesting point, guys, whenever you try to access your UI5 application, which is running on local host, and an OData service, which is running on a different domain, you will get an error called cross origin resource sharing issue. So I'll just save this and try to run it with mock server, sorry, with the Sandbox server. So right click here and try to run this application from this Sandbox server. So I just right click, run as web app preview. You will see that when I'm trying to call this application, this OData service call will fail. The reason is because it would try to find the OData server also into the local host, and any call made outside the local host system won't allow. The browser policy will prevent me to make a call to an external OData server. Okay, guys, so that's the reason I cannot use my OData URL as it is. So I will show you that issue. So let me switch back here to my browser and try to put this. Now you will also wonder how come it is giving you a launchpad like screen. This is called Fiori Sandbox Server. Fiori Sandbox Server also helps you to test all the launchpad integration of your Fiori application using a local sandbox environment. This is also covered in my advanced UI5 and Fiori training. So we'll not discuss that in detail here. I'll simply click on my application and you can see it's giving me an error. You can see it's unable to call this OData service because browser policy prevents me to do that. And this is known cross origin resource sharing. More about this is covered in my UI5 and Fiori training in advanced module. So please subscribe to that. But you can just see that I cannot call this OData service because it gives me an error called or access control allow origin. Okay, this is the cross origin resource sharing issue. So how do you prevent it with Eclipse? So what you need to do is just come back to your Eclipse, go to manifest.json, change your URL and just do a path prefix called proxy. slash. That's it. You need to do this. Now what does it mean? What happens is SAP UI5, when the plugin is installed in Eclipse, it also comes with a reusable library. It's called proxy servlet. This proxy servlet is available in UI5 resources. If I just go here to the resources, you can see Ui5 server-side library resources, and in this you will find a resource called com SAP Ui5 proxy simple proxy servlet class. So this is what is the runtime component, or some server-side library shipped along with this toolkit. So now we want to cheat the browser, saying that any call which you're not making to another server, still you will make a call to the local host, and this in this local host this particular servlet is running, which will then redirect the call to the actual OData server. Now to make a call to this proxy servlet, you need to also look at the web.xml file where the entry has been maintained for this. So I just come to web.xml, and if you come down, you will see that if my URL starts with slash proxies star, which means if my URL starting with proxy slash, then call this simple proxy servlet, which is nothing but making a call to this server-side program. Clear? More about this is explained in my UI5 and Fury basic training. So I'm not discussing much here. I'm just explaining you how we are cheating the browser by using this proxy servlet to make a call to the OData service. So just make sure that you add up this part proxy slash before your service URL, save this, and now try to re-execute. So let me come back, press enter. Now it will cheat the browser, and voila, you see it's now giving me a username and password authentication box for my OData server. So it's successfully connected to my OData server. Let me provide my username password, click on OK, and you would see, yes, you can see the data has been loaded from my gateway server. Perfect, guys. You can see this is the record which we created in last video. It's also available over here. So now what is our requirement is to create a new screen, and in that new screen I will be providing all the necessary data for creating a new order, and then finally we click on save button, which would then do a deep insert to the database which we have it using OData service, which we had built in the last video. Okay, so let's do that. I want to introduce a new plus button over here. On click of that, I want to launch a new screen. So remember, guys, you need to know all the concepts which I taught in my UI5 and Fury training, which includes component.js, router, route match handler, manifest JSON, fragments, formatters, XML views, JSON data model, XML data model, resource model, information, I18 and library files, util directory. All these concepts you need to learn, guys, before you get into UI5 and Fury development. That's the reason people subscribe my UI5 and Fury course, where in 40 hours I will take you from very scratch, very base. Even you are just a college pass out, you can still learn UI5 and Fury. Don't panic. You are an ABAPer, you're not able to learn it, you come to me. In the 40 hours I will make you an expert in UI5 and Fury. Don't getting into the trainers, those who are cheating you, those who are just teaching you copy paste, not teaching you real coding. Please subscribe to my UI5 course. You will understand all of these aspects end to end from very basic. Great. So let's get started. Add a plus button here in the master screen. So I will just come back to Eclipse. So now all the development is what I'm doing is using Eclipse. So let's come here. I will quickly switch to my view, and in my master view I just want to add a new button. So let me just come here and just come down. You will see some couple of buttons being added to my master screen, and I will also add one more button as part of my master screen. So let me just check that up. There has to be a button. You can see here there's a group item being added. A filter action is being added. So you can see this is the filter action which is being added. So maybe I just want to add a new button at the bottom. So what I'll do is I just come here and say semantic footer, and then inside this I want to add a button. I just want to add an icon for the button. Add icon, and then I want to give an action for the button when user press this button on add. So let's use this on add, and I can just go to controller, my master controller, and right now I just want to give a message to the user when user clicks on add button. that a new screen will be popping up soon function. So all the processing logic goes in controller as per the MVC architecture, which I taught you in the basic Ui5 and Fiori training. So let me subscribe var, or maybe just sap.m.messagebox.alert. A new screen will be added soon. That's the message I want to throw. Save this. We are done. Let's come back and refresh the page. You should see a new plus button should have been added. Oops, it's giving some error, guys. The reason is my router is causing this issue. So let me switch back to the base root so that it loads the master screen as well for me. I think there's some problem in our code, so maybe I just right click and inspect and just check the console. What's the issue? Console is your best friend who will tell you if there is any issue in your code. It will reflect. Okay, so let's open the console and see what's the issue over here. In the meantime, I can also go back and check the Ui5 SDK. So you can see here there's an error. It is unable to load something called footer in the semantic area. So maybe I'll just quickly go to Ui5 SDK and see how can I include a footer button inside a semantic page. So let me come here, go to samples. So what is Ui5 SDK? How do we use it? What is aggregation? What is properties, events and methods? What is control hierarchy? All that is covered in my Ui5 and Fiori training. So if you want to understand from very basic about the entire Ui5 framework, including HTML5, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, please subscribe to my Ui5 and Fiori course. So let's go to samples over here and we will be able to quickly check some sample code of existing semantic pages, and from there I will drive the right piece of code which I would need to create a footer button. Remember guys, in this video for saving time I'm doing copy paste, but in actual real training I will not do any copy paste of code. I will write every single line of code at front of you. Okay, that's my style of training. You will observe that, which is a very unique style and very effective. You will learn in 40 hours starting from very basic, very scratch to all the detail level things. So let's come here to the samples and I will just get some sample code for semantic page. So let it load. It's little slow. So we will have to go to view, and here this footer is not recognized by the system, hence I have to just search for semantic page here and just check semantic page master detail, and you can see this is the master section. There's a plus button over here, so I can just switch to the code. How can I also create such a plus button on the UI? So I say add, and I think we have it. Yeah, I think we have it here. An add action available, semantic add action, that I can use it. So this piece of code is added directly in the master page section. So let me just also do that, and my press is on add. Let me save this and see what happens. I come back to my user interface and refresh the page. Voila, you can see guys, a plus button have been added over here. On click of this button, you can see a new screen will be added soon. An alert is being thrown. So let's go ahead and add a new screen on the user interface. So I'll just make a copy of an existing view. Maybe I just make a copy of my detail view and paste it again in my view folder and just name it as a add view. So add.view.xml, and I just go inside the add view. Also change the controller name to add controller to which it has to point, and I will just keep rest of all the things as same, and maybe just remove the content, just keep it empty, and also just remove all this content from the bottom. Okay, so that's what I've done. Now inside this content I will be adding all the content which I need. So right now I just add a label. I just say label and I say text, some user elements to come soon. Okay, just to test the navigation I am adding a simple page, and you can see this is my add view has been created. Similarly, I will also create a detail controller, make a copy of it and create an add controller for this add view. So one-to-one relationship between controller and the view. So go to add, Now I made a copy, and you can see here I have to change the name to add view, sorry, add controller, and rest all the things are not much needed for me. Maybe I just put here get root add, and some model is available, so I don't want this model, so I just keep it as it is and say add view. So just change this model name, control F, and that's the beauty of Eclipse. So add view, I want to change everywhere this model name, and let me just come on the top, keep these things, and just also keep the root match handler method, guys. This is what is also covered in my basic training of UI5. So please subscribe to that if you want to understand what is root match handler. So here we go, and this is all okay. I don't want all this code, so just remove all this piece of code, guys, completely. Okay, I'm just removing all this piece of code. Save this. It's giving an error here now, some problem. Let's do a control Z. What's the error? There is some error which was thrown. Let me check. I don't want these lines of code. Just removing all of them from here. Save it, and let me also remove these methods which I don't want. Okay, just removing that. So on root matched, I just want to remove this piece also. Yeah, is this required? Not required. Yeah, I can remove that. And then here we have some more code. I can also remove this piece of code, not required anymore for me. Let me remove all this. I just want a very simple code, just want a very simple controller, so just removing everything out. Perfect. So that's my add controller code finally. So on metadata loaded, one method, on object root match handler, another method. We have just two methods already placed in here. Okay, and this part also not required, guys. Okay, very nice. So we have created this controller for add view. Now time for connecting the dots. We need to launch this add view from the router. So routing configuration, as mentioned in my training, is available in manifest.json. So I'll just come down and define a new routing configuration for my, or a new route for my add view. So let me copy the detailed configuration and just give the pattern name as add. Name of the route is add, master, and add a new target. And let's define this new target over here. And the target name is add, view name is add, a capital, remember it's case sensitive, and view id is id add. That's it, guys. My configuration is also defined for navigating to the add view in the router. So what is router? Please subscribe to my UI5 and Fiori training to understand what is a router and root match handler concept. It's covered in detail over there. Now I just close this, come back and refresh the page. On click of add button, now you should see the view should launch, your add view should launch, guys. Okay, so let's try it out. I will just click on plus button, and oops, it gives me a pop-up still, which means I have not yet coded for my add button. So in the master view where we have added the add button code, we have not yet called the route. So we have to call the route by calling this dot get router dot nav2 and pass my root name. So it's add is my root name. You can find the root name in manifest.json, which we had defined. If you come down to the routing configuration again, you can see this is my root name add. I can change it to Anubhav also, and then I will just say the system call this root Anubhav. Clear? So that's my root routing configuration. Now let's test it one more time. Come here, press enter, refresh your app so that code gets uploaded, and now I can click on plus button. Let's see what happens. Oops, something is not right. You can see it's not working. When I click on plus button, nothing happened. So press F12 to see what went wrong. F12 is your best friend. You see cannot read property attach pattern match of undefined. It has actually tried loading your controller, and you can see it is triggering add controller, and here it is causing some issue. The problem is I've changed the root name, guys, and the root name has been changed to Anubhav, but I didn't change the code in my add controller. So I have to go to add controller, and here the root name which I've changed was Anubhav, so that should be also adapted here. Okay, so let's reload the application once again, and we'll see what happens next. So it comes here and I click on plus button, and there you go. You can see it's now loading my add controller. You can see it's loading up, guys. Now I don't see the look and feel of this application looks like Fiori 2.0. So what I will do is I'll quickly change the bootstrap and also change my theme for my UI5 application. So for that I will just search for SAP UI5 bootstrap from Akamai. What is Akamai? What is UI5 bootstrap? Again, I would repeat, please look into my Ui5 and Fiori training for more details. So I will come here and just check for CDN variant for Ui5 bootstrapping, and with Fiori 2.0 we have a new theme available called SAP SAP Bleeze theme, so I will be using that. So maybe I just use SAP Ui5 framework from here, go back to Eclipse, go to my HTML file in the test folder, and oops, I have to just close it and come down, and I just have to load Ui5 framework from here, and then I'll say theme should be Bleeze theme. Okay, so I will be now loading SAP Bleeze theme for this purpose. So let's go ahead and do that. So we will be loading SAP Bleeze theme now. Save this, and now let's have a look at Fiori 2.0 theme. So let's come back, and I just refresh the page, and you would see Fiori 2.0 theme will be loaded. Oops, the problem is I have shut it down, my index.html execution. I have to restart this. So right click here, say run as web app preview, and you would see the port number would change to 6682 now. So I just go back and change it here, press enter. So now the bootstrapping is done from CDN directly, and you see the new look and feel of your application looks much better with Fiori 2.0 theme. You can see some user elements to come here. Now we can go ahead and add some content to our view now. So basically I want to add a user form for creating a new pizza order, and then together with that a table where we will have all the details about products which customer would like to buy. So let's go ahead and do that. So I will just change the view name quickly, go to my add view and change its title, and I say create new pizza order. And what I'll need is, now here I need set of controls which includes all the input fields for my pizza order. So I come back to Ui5 SDK to find out some best controls, and we search for a simple form, come inside, and I want set of forms in one single group, and you can see something of this sort I need it. So maybe I switch to the fragment and copy this simple form as it is. Copy this. Let's come down to the XML view and paste it. Okay, so yeah, that's it. And now of course I have to define my namespace for F, XML namespace for form, sap.ui.layout.form, and this should be inside here. Okay, save this, we're good. Error goes off, and now I want label first is the customer name. Okay, I just want to put a default value as walk-in customer, and then I want, let me check the fields which I needed for OData service. So it's already there in my Postman request which I made it last time to my backend system. So we can just open our Postman plugin and check out what are all the details we needed to create a new pizza order. So let me just come here and check that up. So I'll quickly see the post request here and see what are all the different properties we need to create a new order. So you can see order date is what I need, order number, Let me put order number and just put it blank. And what I'll also do is, guys, create a simple local JSON. So I will use the same format here for creating a simple JSON in the controller. So I just go back on the top and I'll just create a very simple data model over here. So I will just say order header, curly braces, and this whole of the JSON. And then I will just put this empty, clear. So this is my order details. Let's just say order. So this is my payload for posting the data finally. I will just pump in this directly to my payload request. So order ID, I have order number. So I will also bind these properties directly with my UI control quickly. So order ID, I want to keep it blank. Order number, I want to keep it, let's say 10 always. Order date, I want to default it right now. And then order customer as walk-in customer. Order total amount, I don't want to keep anything. I want to keep it 0 for time being. Currency as INR. Save this. And now what I'll do is I will just go ahead to my view and do the binding with these properties quickly. So I'll come here and let me just do the binding. So I just come for customer number and my model name is add view model. That's my model name for binding. So I put my model name arrow and then it's slash order slash customer name. That's my binding for the property. So order number is here. Okay, and this is order number. Remember guys, it's case sensitive, so be little careful. So order number is binded. Now order date. Let's create a date field on the user interface. So let me just have to check it. What should be the ideal date field? So for that, first I'll just put here date as the label, and instead of input we will just quickly add a date field. Okay, and just put the value equals to the binding, and I would put this as order date. Fine. The next value which you need is total amount. I don't need it. Currency I don't need it. That's it guys. Remaining things I am keeping hard coded, the total amount and currency. Just want customer name, order date, order number. That's all I need, and that's what I have created the binding with 3 of the fields. And then finally I would just create a table control, and that table control would get the data required from the table. So I just have to remove these things. Yeah, so this seems to be okay. Let's quickly test it. At least the form is available on the user interface with hard-coded data or not. So I just do a refresh. It should now display me the form. You can see all the data is also available here. You can see the data. I can choose the data quite nicely and easily. Yeah, and this data we have to then supply to create the order. Now I need quickly a database table, a user interface table to add all the items like pizzas, whatever user is choosing. Okay, now just quickly go back and change this label as well in the simple form. So come on the top, it should be order my pizza. Okay, I would just maybe name it best in pizza, new order. Okay, and then what I need is a table control guys. So let's quickly look into the table of SAP Ui5. So I will come back to Ui5 SDK and check for a simple table. I want to create a very simple table like this, and just look at a column table, simple column table, and switch here and just copy the table which I need. This is the table I need it. I'm just copying it, whole table, and bring it back to my Eclipse. And I don't need much of these things. I need very few things, and that's the reason I'm just going to adapt it now. So just come back. I don't want all the cells. I want few columns. So I will also decide the columns. Before that, I just remove this header toolbar which is extra. I would also change my binding to order. So this should be my binding /order/ and what's the binding path? Nav order items. That's what I need. Perfect. So this is what we have done it now. Okay, and this is maybe ID products, what user want to order. Let's not put any sorting path as of now, and yeah, and then let's add the columns which we need. So maybe I go back to our Postman and see what is the payload for items. So need item ID, which is automatically generated. Order ID we also don't need to pass. Item number not necessarily required, and then product ID of course required. Product ID and quantity we need it. Only two properties I need it: which product customer would like to purchase, whether it is pizza, which pizza, or soft drink, or what, and then quantity. These two things I need it. So I just put two columns, and maybe I also put the third column, which is having a unique value. So let me just go ahead and do that. So what I'll do is come back to my Eclipse. I need just three columns. So first column is what is the product customer want. Second column I need is the quantity, what they want to order, and third column I need it is unit. How many unit will always be hard coded as pieces. Okay, so now I have to add three cells. So first cell is going to be my input field, which accepts the product ID. So I would just put a value here, maybe just value here. We'll be doing the binding later. And then next is also again an input field with quantity, type equals to number. So user can't enter any text inside this. And third is my text field, which is having fixed text as PC, guys. Okay. That's it. So that's my items table. So let's have a look at this table. At least it has been created or not. So I can come back and have a look at it. So I just, where is my user interface? Here it is. Refresh. And you can see a nice table with product, quantity, and unit has been created. There's no data into it. We have to of course add a header with a plus button, so items can be added to this order. So let me just go ahead and add a plus button, like it was already there in SDK. So I just removed it. So we should add something called a header toolbar, and this header toolbar I should add a plus button, which should then insert a new record into my table. So let me just go ahead and do that. So I come here inside the table and add a new button called icon add, and then I would just also put an action for this add. I say add new pizza, or that's it. And this controller code I will just generate it into my add controller here. Okay, function, and this would then generate a new blank record in my orders table. So in the nav orders I'm going to insert a blank record with the data. So what is the data I need? So I need to create a simple data equals to curly braces, and whatever is my items information from my Postman plugin, I will take that up. This is all I need. Here you go, everything blank. Item number, I will always count the number of items currently available in the table and increment it by 1. So let me just get the table object and count the number of items inside the table. In fact, the table which we created is going to be binded by this path. So this I can directly use it to get my view model and count the number of records in that. So I say var count equals to, or maybe say o view model equals to sap.ui, or this dot get view dot get model, and there is a add view model, guys, which we have a local view model available. What is a local model, what is a global model, is all covered in my advanced in my UI5 and Fury training. So get property, and then just take this order items. Yeah, that gives me the exact data. How many items are by far being added? Var items equals to this, and then I can just say item dot length +1 as the order item number, okay, which will be displayed to the user. Product ID, I will keep it blank for time being. Okay, and then item quantity, at least one should be inserted by default with one PC. Clear? Let's also display the item number on the UI, guys. So let's do that. I just insert one more column with item number. This should be displayed to the user as a text. So let's do that. Item number, and the text should be binded. So let me do the binding now with these properties. So it should be a relative binding path. So first is my item number, curly braces, add view. This is my binding path, relative binding. So what is relative binding? What is absolute binding? Again covered in my Ui5 and Fiori training in detail. Then comes is the value equals to this binding, and then this should also be binded to my property unit of measurement, and this should be quantity. This should be product ID. Okay, so product ID text. Yeah, that's cool. And now I can come back here, and this is what I've created, and this simple data I'm just going to inject in my items. So I say items dot push, and this simple data I'm inserting new record, and then finally I'm going to update this in my table. So I just call set property API and update these items to the user interface. Perfect. Save this. We are done. Let's click on plus button on the table, and this should insert a new item record as part of my user interface table in the Fiori application. Let's come back, and here it is. Let's refresh. You should see now a plus button in the table control, and when I click on plus button, watch carefully what happens. So item number, product, quantity, and unit, one blank record will be inserted. Wow. One more, you see 2, it's inserted. One more, 3 got inserted. So now user can enter all the product IDs. Now remember guys, product IDs are too technical information for business user to enter. So here we want to probably create a drop down, and that drop down should display me all the products available in the system. So instead of a text field, I want a drop down for choosing my pizzas or the products which user want to order. So let's go ahead and do that, and that drop down will be binded to my entity set called products. So let's come back and just switch to Eclipse, and then come here to this product ID here, and I will change this to a select control or a combo box control. So that's what I'm doing, combo box control. I'm switching it, and then what I'll do is I'll just enter here the items for combo box, and this should be binded to my slash products set entity set, and the items should be created like core item class text and key. So let me add the text and key here. So the text should be, let me just fire a get request on my product set entity set. Product question mark dollar format is JSON. So this should get me the products data now, and you can see here all the product data is available for us in the JSON format. So I can choose the name here as the text which should be visible to the user, and I will choose the product ID as the key property for this drop down value, and this core has to be defined on the top. Now this should point to SAP UI core library. Save this. We are done. Let's come back and refresh the page. We should see a nice drop down with all the product pizzas in pizza information will be available to us. Why it's giving an error? Prefix core for item is not bound. Let me just check, guys, what's the issue. Did I put it correctly? No. XML namespace. Yes, that's the mistake. And yeah, we are ready now with the drop down, which displays you all the products information available in the product store, in the pizza store. So let's refresh. Watch the magic of binding. Click on plus, and oops, it's not working. It didn't load all the products. Ideally it should have loaded with the binding. Why it didn't load? I guess there is some problem. So products set items. Yeah, this seems to be okay for combo box control. And then we have each of the item getting binded. I think I missed the curly braces here to indicate that it's a binding. Save this. That should be the reason, I guess. I hope so. And voila, there you go. All the products from the OData service are now loaded. So you can choose any pizza which customer is ordering. So now you are here with me as my first customer. So please tell me your name. So your name is, let's say, Jackie Joan. Okay. And maybe your order number is 10 and that order date is probably today's date, and you want a margarita pizza 1, and then you want probably a fresh veggie pizza 2 products, and then you want maybe 1 PepsiCo and maybe 2 PepsiCos you need. And then I just need a save button, guys, to shoot this data up to the backend service, and finally this order should be persisted in my final database table. What an amazing example. A complete fully transactional app, guys, ready for you to consume using deep insert. All the latest concepts are covered. I hope you are able to grab all the aspects of it, especially the students who have already taken Ui5 Fiori training from me. They should be able to understand this whole stuff. Those who are still not able to understand, please subscribe to my Ui5 Fiori training. You will get a complete idea of how this can be built end to end. We are already doing it in 40 hours of course. I will teach you from very scratch. Even you are just college pass out, you can learn it quite easily. It's not a big deal for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a save button. On click of save button, I just have to fire a request to the backend, sending this information and creating my OData request. So let's add a save button finally at the bottom of the page. So I come back to Ui5 SDK and search for semantic. Once again, semantic page, want to introduce a save button at the bottom. So I just switch to the sample code, and then let's see if there is a button which I can create. So maybe yes, print action, jam action, email, favorites action, flag action, edit action. So there are a lot of different variety of actions you have it. Maybe I just use one of the action. This action I will use, and let me just go ahead and let me see if there is a save really available. Not available, then maybe I'll just use a normal button. So I come here to add view and just add at the bottom a save button. So let me just come here, semantic add action, and just say icon equals to SAP-icon, save icon, and on click of this on save should be triggered. And in on save, I'm going to write my code to send this data to my backend gateway server and persist this order in the system. Okay, and finally throw a message sap.m.message toast and say your order has been created successfully. 20 minutes or free. Save this. Let's do a mock testing for this. On click of save button if it is appearing, and on click of save button does it give you a message or not. You can see there's a plus button icon. That's your save icon actually. Click on that and it should give me a toast message. It is not giving me, which means there is some problem. So I think it's, let's press F12 and see what's the problem. I got it. I think I missed the API name dot show. And let's come back, refresh, and I again click. Watch carefully. On click of this, you can see the message is being thrown, but actually we now need to make a real post to the backend server. So for that you need to use your OData instance, and what you can do is you can call var OData object equals to this dot get view dot get model. This gives you the OData model object, guys, available at the view level. Remember, that's the default model for all the views, hence I didn't give any name of the model. And now what I'm going to do is I'll just prepare the data. So data is already also prepared in your slash order view model. So your local view model also you got to get it here, and using this local view model you just got to get the property now. So just get the slash orders property now, which gives you all the values for payload. So this gives me final payload for my deep insert, which is equivalent to what we have in the Json prepared earlier in the Postman plugin. And then I'm just going to call this dot create, and my entity set name is slash orders set, and I will be passing my payload here, comma, curly braces, and on success of my post request, once there's a success comes from backend, I'm going to throw this message to the user. If the call is failed, if there is an error in the backend, it's not able to save my data, I will just throw an error message. So I will just switch to message box dot error, and I say some error, please give me time to bake pizza. Okay, some funny error message I'm throwing, and we are done. That's it, we are done, guys. It should now create the OData call to the backend. It should create it. So let me quickly show you setting up a breakpoint in our S4 HANA system and see if you are able to receive the call from the front end or not. Now, one interesting point, I missed it. When you are passing the data, you have to pass the key property, key value of what you choose. So let me be very sure if it is collecting the key value or not for the products. It should collect the key values, guys, for these products. Okay, so though we don't have a validation in the backend, it may be, let's let it be as it is. We don't want to check it. So let's go ahead and shoot this up. So maybe I just quickly connect to our S4 HANA system once again and set up a breakpoint in deep insert to see what happens when this call is going from the Fiori app to the backend. Okay, and we should also be able to see this order being created in the backend system. That's what my main intention is. So move 5, and I just go to SC11 and just show you the orders table, best in pizza, and just go inside and just go to SC24 and set up a breakpoint here. Go to my DPC extension class, and as usual in the last session I showed you how to make a request, post request from the Postman plugin. Similarly, now I'm showing it from here, and let's go ahead and fire the request from the Fiori app. Let me just quickly refresh my Fiori app so that all the code is updated, and now I just give my customer name as Jimmy Berraro, order number is 11, order date is, let's say, 5, and then I just create a new margarita, 2 margaritas, 1 farmhouse, 2 cheesy dips, and 5 PepsiCo. Click on shoot. Let's fingers crossed and see what happens. So I clicked on plus already. Oops, some technical error occurred in the first hand itself. You can see there's an error with bad request, which means we are doing something wrong. Error while parsing the request. Let me just be very sure. So I will debug now my code. I press F12. I think this could be probably because of date field. Okay, because we are using date field and that's not being properly being sent to the backend. So maybe let me check it. What could be the possible resolution of this issue? So let's switch to the controller where we have the code in place, and I will set up a breakpoint here on my create OData create method and look at the payload. So guys, maybe the issue is with the date or probably with the with any other data which we are passing. So let me be right now not use this current date which we are taking from the date control, rather than let me hard code the date as current date. Okay, so let me just go ahead and do that first. So maybe what I'll do is I come back to our Eclipse based Fiori application, and then I just go to my payload, and you can see here somewhere in the payload we are using date. So maybe I'll change the date at runtime, guys, okay, before posting it. So payload dot, and I would use order date. So what's the field name? Let me check in the view. So we have used here the order date somewhere. Here it is, and this order date I am going to change now. So I'll say this equals to json dot stringify. Let me check that in the browser. So I just come here, json.stringify of new date. That's what I'm hard coding for time being, guys, just for testing purpose. And there is also one more interesting thing which I missed. Whenever you implement an insert with a dollar badge, you should also implement two important methods in your gateway DPC extension class. These two methods are begin change set and end change set. These two methods are very important, guys. At least you have to provide an empty implementation of these two methods when you're triggering something from Fiori app, which is a post request in a dollar batch. So these two methods are not implemented. Let me quickly provide a blank implementation for them, and I just go back, and here also this one, the change set end, I am also providing a blank implementation. Typically, I can now write here inside this a commit work, but right now I'm just giving a blank implementation and activate the DPC extension class. And now let's go ahead and test it one more time. And let me just close it and refresh my app because I made also a change for the date. And I just come here and say Jimmy Barrero and just give order number 11 one more time. Click on plus and I just choose Margarita 2, and I choose country special 2, and then I would just choose PepsiCo 5. Let's shoot this up. This time I'll also first debug, press F12. We already have a debugging point set on our source code. So I click on plus button and you can see it's coming to the create method now. And let's look at the payload. So you see the payload has the date already in place. And then we have order number, fine. Total amount is 0, that's okay. Nav items are also in place. Looks like it should be okay. Let's press execute. Again, some error have come. I think it could be because of date. Let me try one more time. And this time I'll change the date value at runtime. So I come here and you see there is an extra double quote in the date with this Z thing. I'm removing it. And now let me try one more time posting this data. Press F8. Again an error. Now maybe let's go to our gateway client and see what's the error. So I go to our backend system, iwfnd/error log, and let's see what's the issue. Gateway is throwing some issue. Change set processing failed. That's the error it is giving. Okay, it's giving an error. Change set processing failed. Let me see here also. Is it the same error? But here it's saying XML parsing error while XML parsing stream. So these two are contradictory, but in the gateway client it's giving a different error. Okay, now there is something wrong with our payload for sure then, if it's giving XML parsing errors. So there is something which we are missing. Let me change this value to, let's say, 200.00. Order number is 11, that's okay. Now I have to change the time zone also again. Time should be this format. Okay, this is okay. And this all seems to be fine for me, guys. Let me also compare it with JSON payload. So order number was not in double quote. So let's remove the order number double quote from here. So that's how you can test it. And then you have this date, that's okay, it's here. Then you have the customer name in double quote, fine. Currency in INR, okay. Then you have nav order items. Let's look at the payload again. Nav order items. Each item has item ID, item number, order ID, product ID, quantity, and unit of measurement. So quantity, unit of measurement, item number, this is all seems to be okay. Let's shoot this up now. Execute. Looks like something is happening. Voila, you can see it's hitting my breakpoint finally, guys, in the backend system. I can just check the data which is received by the backend. So it's definitely the data format which is causing the issue. You see product number was actually passed as a string, that's why it was not working. Okay, now got it, and let me just execute it. Hope you remember, yes, your order is been created successfully, 20 minutes for free. Let's search for Jimmy Barrero in the database table and see if there's a data available or not for this pizza order. Congratulations, you can see there is an order from Jimmy Barrero which has been created, which means our code has an issue. First of all, with the order number, it's passed as a string, so I have to convert it to a number, and then let me try. So let's go back, correct all the code wherever needed. So maybe I think date is not an issue. I'll comment out the date part and just need the order number to be corrected properly. So this dot order number equals to this dot order number, and I say parse int. So I'm basically converting my string to integer. Save this and let's give a try one more time. Hopefully date could be an issue, guys. So maybe we will check that. If it doesn't work, I'll keep the date also. Let's try now, and I would just again try a new record, and maybe I say try one more, and I say 12, and just keep the time and date, which is okay here, and I click on plus. Just make one product, Jeppelino, 5 pieces, and let's shoot up. There's an error. Definitely there's some error in our payload, guys. This is what is the problem. Last time we saw when we corrected the payload manually, it was working fine. So I'm sure it's again with the date which is causing this issue. So I can come to the payload, and yes, you see this date is a culprit. So this is something you can also enhance using JavaScript code. You can maintain it, and order number is okay now, and this is all okay and looks like fine. Let's execute this. I corrected the date in the debugging. F8, something is happening, and you see breakpoint hits. Wow. So date is the culprit, guys, which we need to correct it, and it's created. So let's scroll down. You can see try one more. This has also been created successfully. You see the product details. The one which we created with Jimmy Barrero has 3 products. They are also visible here. Perfect. It's all working, guys. Congratulations. End-to-end Fury transactional app with deep insert is working best in pizza. Is happy with your services, happy with your Fury application. So if you want to learn more interesting video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Please give me your feedback in comments. You can also download the whole source code from my website, onlinefurytrainings.com. So just search for my website, onlinefurytrainings.com. You can download the complete source code what I've created here from my website. So just go to the website. You will find my learning series over here, Anubhav's learning series over here. Just go to that, and you can download the complete source code from here, okay, including this presentation. Okay, so see you with the next video. Have a nice day and goodbye.